How will I know if he really loves me? I say a prayer with every heartbeat. I fall in love whenever we meet. I'm asking you what you know about these things. Or how will I know? Hey, how will I know what happens? Only by listening to the hardest part of the ring for the Hulu edition of the January 11th, 2021 Monday Night Raw with limited commercial interruption. Not limited enough in this case, but limited commercial. Nevertheless, Hulu, it's TV in the palm of your hand. My name is Bob. Once again, I thank you for joining me here. Before we jump into the program, before we jump into the fire, if you will, let's take a question. Half of my listeners, Mark, sent me a lovely message here asking me a question via Twitter. You can find me on Twitter. It's a popular social media application. I don't have time to explain that right now. At Bob Hansen Jokes. And Mark writes to me, I know you are a trained pro wrestler and don't compete anymore. This is true. I don't think I competed then. Have you ever considered managing wrestlers or doing announcing? I think you would be a natural at either role with that quick wit of yours. Well, and thanks, buddy. That quick wit will not be shown on this edition of the hardest part of the ring. Let's take one at a time. Managing, yes. So I was in Off of the Wild Samoans WXW in the early 2000s, northeastern Pennsylvania. I was like dancing. My toilet's running right now. I don't know if you could hear that. It just runs because, screw it. I was a dancing babyface for a while, just jumping around, and we didn't know it was cultural appropriation right now. I was just badly hip-hop dancing because I'm a stupid college kid in Pennsylvania. And again, this is like 2000 to 2002-ish, and it ran its course. I was part of some tag teams. One of them was called Neil and Bob. The other guy had to be Neil. Head Shrinker Samu. Sorry to name drop, but who cares? He mentioned because he made us from San Francisco and thought Neil and Bob, like if you're kneeling down and like your head's bobbing, like you're filleting a man, if you will, and he said the ring announcer should announce us from San Francisco because traditionally a large homosexual population lives there. And he thought it would be funny for us to be homosexuals, right? You understand? Because that would be the joke. The joke is that someone might be gay. That was what was comical there. So we had to do that. We didn't really do anything gay. We just kind of danced around, and kids liked it because we were just dancing around and being idiots, but not really provocatively dancing by any stretch of the imagination. But with everybody else being like really fat and wearing all black and coming out to tough guy music with two long entrances, and everyone's a tough guy, everyone's Batman, as they say, etc., etc., and everyone's, I'm 300 pounds. You're 300 pounds of shit, though. So with us me being like 180, 185, and the other guy being Nicky, who had to be Neil, unfortunately, I think I probably had 15-something pounds on him. So it was just something different. It just broke up the show a little bit. So... And then they'd send big guys out, there's a tag team with Gene Snitsky, just to drop all the names too, who would just beat the holy shit out of us. That's a whole other story. But I was doing that, and I was well liked. I was I'd be given the microphone and had a little bit of a gift of gab. This is long before I ever tried stand-up comedy or anything. My San Diego run would be much more fun with the microphone because then I had a few years of constant microphone experience. So I'm like, oh, this is great. This is the best part. But back then, you're young and you want to, especially you're young and you're small, so you want to fly and do all the flying moves. And I did as many of the Hurricane Ranas off the top and the dives as I could, and my body just couldn't hold up for it. Moving on, in the summer of '02, I was allowed to be a bad guy, where I wore like a sports coat and a tie with no shirt, which is ludicrous. That's when I didn't know that too much funny can be a bad thing in wrestling. But anyway, I would use big words and I would brag to the Hazleton people that I was a college educated. I recently got a Bachelor of Arts degree in communications, and I would yell at them, I have a bachelor's in communications. I don't have to take this from you. which is just still, I'm patting myself on the back. That was still amusing. And the thing is, the sad thing is, because it is the economic state of that city, that worked. How dare you, this Ivy League educated guy, which is preposterous. So at one point, I think later on, October, November, we call them Pops, that's the thing, but if I call them Pops, you're not going to know who the fuck I'm talking about. Alpha said, "Oh, son, why don't you what do you think about just managing? Just be a manager, you know?" And the shame was in '02. That's when I was way better. I was a much better wrestler in '02 than '01 and '00 and 2000, whatever the hell. He's still green, but I could be carried, I could be led, I can move around, and I was, I had the basic steps that they teach you of the wrestling match down. So I was, compared to a lot of guys, I thought I was pretty competent in the ring at the time. And I didn't want to do it because I was only living in Hazleton, Pennsylvania, just to be like a door guy at a sports bar and a telemarketing job, which I just stopped going to. And I think they still paid me for a good 2 or 3 weeks because all the managers were the manager was on acid and the sales reps were all on cocaine. So I think it took them a few weeks to realize I wasn't there, and they had to stop paying me for eventually. So, this is a lot for me. I don't usually share, but what the hell. So I did that. No, I didn't do that. I didn't listen to Alpha's advice, and I should have. I should have just been a manager. And I didn't do it because I felt, well, I can't justify living in this town and doing these dumb jobs and wasting my immediate post-college life for just managing at an indie fed. I should at least be wrestling in it, is the way my mentality was at the time. And in hindsight, what a terrible mistake. I should have just kept on talking. And I could have been the manager who does the occasional, obviously a manager who bumps. I mean, clearly they've seen me bumping for years. And I'm only 22. It's not like I can't move. I was as mobile as I've ever been. So, I think that was the other thing, too. Like, what are you talking about? I'm so young. I don't want to manage. I'll wait till I'm 45 to manage. So I didn't do it, and again, in hindsight, I could be the man. I could always take a toss over the top rope. I would have been the manager who would have broken a record for getting his ass kicked all the time because everyone wants to give me their finish. And I could always jump in at the handicap match, whoever I'm managing, and the guy he's feuding with. Okay, you'll wrestle us both, or maybe you beat him, you get a minute with me, or whatever, and then you finally get your hands on Bob, and yada yada yada. Should have done it, didn't. As far as announcing goes. Okay, yes, I would love to be a color commentator and do a Jerry Lawler type of job. In the WWE, that's my dream job. As a matter of fact, you probably saw Johnny Quasto, or as I know him, Johnny LaQuasto, in doing announcing on 205 Live in the last year or so. I don't think he's working there now, but he was announcing for 205, and he was a good friend of mine. He's a friend of mine. I just haven't talked to him in a bit. No one's seen anybody in a long time. In 2007, 08, I used to book him at Winston's in Ocean Beach in San Diego, California. So he was a stand-up comic, and he's coincidentally from Allentown, so we bonded right away. His parents visited him from Allentown to San Diego once. And I was so thrilled to see him as an announcer for WWE because I had just seen him a few years before that perform at Gotham Live in New York City. And again, his parents were there, and at that point it had been like 7, 8 years, so I've only met them twice, which is just, and they were so cool. They remember me that they're the nicest people in the world, and he's just the greatest guy. So I wanted to basically do what he was doing, make the transition from stand-up to announcing. Keep in mind, though, my understanding is, I don't know all the details. You can find Johnny LaQuasto on Instagram or Twitter, I'm sure, and ask him. But he was doing a lot of announcing for some California indies, like much closer to LA, for years, during stand-up. And I really haven't been involved in wrestling, minus my little San Diego stint. So I'm completely out of that loop. I'm not a part of that world at all. No one in wrestling knows me. I'll get a like or a comment back from Johnny on some of his social media. I think I was friendly with Ricardo Rodriguez a little bit. And again, these guys were all cool guys. They're not going to pretend they don't know me, but at the same time, like they're not they're not going to be like, hey, hold on, Bob, I'll get you a job while we're all trying to get jobs. Like, no, that's not how it works, and it's all very silly. Yeah, I'd love to do it. I'm not part of the world, so and I don't live anywhere near Stanford. I'm sure everything's produced more in-house than it ever has been. I think that's the thing. Yeah, you record so many of those things. I mean, there's no live events you can go to right now. I would have to be part of the indies and another wrestling company for 5-10 years to work my way to W. There's not enough life left. Okay, I don't know. I know never say never, but yeah, we're just not there. We're not there right now. Who the hell knows? Well, that's what happened, Mark. Long story. I guess my short answer, Mark. Sorry, well, this went long. Is I didn't listen to Hoffa, and here I am now. All right. Well, thank you, buddy. Let's talk about Raw. Oh boy. Oh, we opened a Raw. Believe it or not, we actually opened this week with Hulk Hogan slamming Andre the Giant, and then we have a giant package in our face. Randy Orton is harassing legends for no reason. And then the inside of the package, they show another package of Orton and Ric Flair earlier in the year, of Orton punching Ric Flair in his testicles. So we have a package in a package where Orton hits Flair's package. Next, Triple H comes out to a huge pop. Huge. The computers went wild. How? You mean to tell me that the volume button on the Thunderdome computers went higher this entire time? These new guys can't get over it. I can't imagine why. I want to talk about that a lot on this, because there were a lot of hypocrisies in the special treatment of the legend Triple H. What happens now? Orton does the old line. Like 90 guys have said this to Triple H. Something about Stephanie and the balls and the purse, where it's silly because you can't physically dislocate your own testicles and put them in the accessories or handbags of somebody else. And I've never seen Stephanie have a purse anyway. And if she had human testicles in them, she'd be committed. This took 9 days to set up a match they didn't set up yet. They waited till the middle of the show to say it's official, but I like that out of nowhere, Triple H just punches. It's just a punch. He punches Orton. Orton goes out of the ring and he sells that punch. That's all we needed. Triple H didn't need to hit his finish right there or anything like that. Also note that if Orton had said the balls purse line to Drew McIntyre, Daniel Bryan, I don't know, whoever, Rey Mysterio, all those good guys, they would have stood there and go, hey, you really bothered me when you said that. I'm going to get even with you later tonight under the rules of an athletic contest. And I don't know why these new guys can't get over. Wait, yeah, because the legend comes in there, he gets extra loud music, and when someone says something about his balls on his wife, he punches them in the mouth. That's what we want to get behind. So, but for some reason, can't do that. Sheamus would have just called him fella and said arse. And then we'd be like, yeah, I don't know why they're not behind these guys. They just don't have the chutzpah like the Attitude Era guys. Yeah, I can't imagine why. We do a recap of Lacey Evans and Ric Flair. We're still doing this. I didn't think this was going to stick around, but Charlotte Flair talks to a blonde lady. They're both blonde ladies. Charlotte's very unhappy with Lacey for trying to have sex with her very old dad, who is married. They never mention. Lacey Evans is talking to another blonde, the same blonde lady, and she's still horny for Ric Flair. I thought the thing was the story they tried to sell with the finish of last week's match. God help me, I'm talking about this. Is that Lacey teased Ric Flair to get the win over the tag team champions so later they could have a title match. By the way, Asuka was not on this Hulu edition at all. I don't know if Asuka was on the show at all. She wasn't on Hulu. So now it's changed to Lacey Evans is just still horny for the 72-year-old man. They used to show his dick to flight attendants. Should I have said that? Okay, before anything, Drew McIntyre has a message about COVID. Hey, someone on WWE said something responsible about COVID-19 that might have helped turn the tide of some people. Wow, something mature happened on a show, like for adults, but kids can listen to it and understand the words as well. Who would have thought it? Drew McIntyre, good for you. Good for you. Um, you went up even more notches in my book, so thank you. Ric Flair, I wrote Flair versus Lacey. Flair versus Lacey, yes, Charlotte wrestles Lacey. Before we get to the main point of this, uh, I like Charlotte's physicality always. She's laying into chops on Lacey. Lacey's taking all of it. Lacey even took the head scissor bumps that Charlotte stopped doing a while ago, where she kind of puts in a head scissors and rolls forward, and you have to kind of take a back bump, which often becomes an ass bump, which I'm sure hurts like hell. Um, I was really happy to see that. Lacey, before we talk about the finish here, and there's not much to say about it. Lacey Evans, it bothers me to see her on TV, and I'm a fan of hers. But here's what I mean by that. She's an ex-Marine, so we know she's double tough. She's taken all this Charlotte shit. She's taken it. And we saw, I think, with a year or 2 years ago, whatever it was, Lacey and Natty beat each other up with some weapons and some last woman standing. Lacey's not a joke. She's a Marine, and she's a mom of like an 8 or a 9-year-old. And I think she's I think maybe Tamina too. I think they're the only active moms on the roster. And yeah, there's something there. They don't have to make her a heel MAGA character. Why even touch it? Because they kind of do, but they dance around it so thinly that it's just not even worth doing. And if they went on across the country, half the country, a little less than half, according to the popular vote, whatever, half the country would, like her anyway. So really, what are they doing with that? I would just drop the over-the-top Southern nasty hint around heel trumper kind of ditch it. There's just something else there. She's an ex-Marine and a mom. There's a different story. She's a tough lady. I don't see why. There's something else there, and Vince still loves blondes, so she's going to be around. There was a great when you watch the closed captions on Hulu, which for some reason I have it on. I just didn't click the button to turn it off. Hulu's closed captioning is awesome because they screw up everything, and they kept calling the Queen Charlotte Flair the Fiend Charlotte Flair, which is a completely different WWE superstar. That was amusing at the time, maybe not so much that I say it out loud. And what happens now? I wrote great bump on something. Great bump on I don't know what that means. Anyway, so Ric Flair, because they're trying to kill him, they want to make him travel there 3 weeks in a row in COVID world, while the healthiest, largest, studliest stud of the whole group, Drew McIntyre, gets COVID-19. They're going to just wheel Ric Flair through the Corona car wash and try to kill this man and bring him out. And Flair heals on his daughter. And he's standing by the ring apron, which is the hardest part of the ring. And they do the old finish. I'm sure it's older than this, but most fans remember the Mania 5 Rick Rude Warrior Heenan finish with the suplex and holding the foot and yada, yada, yada. They do that one right before Ric Flair puts the foot on a rope of Lacey to stop her from getting pinned from Charlotte's finish there, or her pin finish, or whatever. So Charlotte's pissed and Ric Flair turns heel on his daughter. I can go through the usual complaints. Well, what match does this lead to? What's the payoff here? You're just going to forget about it in 2 weeks anyway, which is ultimately what I think is going to happen. Where does this go? I don't know what this does for the... Did they even mention she's half the tag team champions of the women? I don't know. I don't know what this was for, other than to try to kill Ric Flair. I like Ric Flair. Let's not kill Ric Flair. Match gets 7,000 stars. I am, oh my god, I'm 20 minutes in. I've talked about one match here. This isn't good. Okay. Anyway. So Lacey wins that. Drew McIntyre and Keith. There's a package about Drew and Keith. We see their packages flying off the turnbuckles. And Keith Lee is talking to Kayla. And Sheamus shows up, and then they're actually kind of buddy-ish. And then Miz and Morrison. Morrison was very comical here. There's some bad Dumb and Dumber writing. Again, mid-90s. Can we update our goddamn references? Anything else? Which one's dumb? Which one's dumber? Like the movie came out last week. Stop it. And they do the tag match. There's a huge Beal by Keith throwing Morrison. So this is great. I like when Morrison and Keith Lee lock up. I noticed in the last month because Morrison just is fine for Keith. Is great. Keith Lee breaks the ring. This was odd and I think unplanned because they just kind of fixed it and no one sold like it had just been broken. So somehow he just gives Morrison a smush in the corner and the buckles break. I don't know how he did it, but if it's real, keep showing it because it's real and people will believe it. They do the match. Sheamus pins Morrison. They do the thing with the tags, and the two guys are okay with it. Match gets 44 stars. Again, the stars mean absolutely nothing. They're all absurd numbers, and one number being higher than the other. Because the stars are worthless, that's why I say that. So, Sheamus pins Morrison, and Triple H talks to a blonde lady. And again, Triple H is allowed to look at the camera. He's allowed to use the word fight, which the other guys aren't allowed to do. I can't wait to get you in a contest. I'm going to compete against you. I challenge you. No, Orton, when he's with Triple H, they can just say fight. Oh, okay. It's not a little privilege they get. Those new guys can't get over. But then, after the break, in the Hulu edition, Keith Lee and Sheamus are wrestling each other with zero explanation. And the announcers don't understand why they're wrestling each other. The announcers of all people should know. But there's a referee for it, so somebody made this official. No one knows. This was a little sloppier. There was a little moments here and there, which I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying they were noticeably tired, obviously, because they were two of three people that definitely wrestled twice on this edition. Match gets 900 stars. Keith won with a spirit bomb. And then they hugs, and I wrote yay hugs with a smiley face and a heart. I drew a heart on my notes. Then we see a colossal package of Goldberg and Keith and Drew. What happened with Goldberg running past legends to make up stuff Drew didn't say. And then Drew cut a great promo acknowledging he never said that because it was stupid. And also, because he had his phone on and he was in a remote location, he was able to just look at the camera and use his own words. It sounded like it didn't sound scripted at all, because they probably just told him just do it from somewhere where you can do it from or whatever. And he explained to Goldberg, hey, you're the one who needs a lesson in respect. I don't know how you know what I'm thinking. Clearly I showed that wasn't the case. I was just about to thank the legends. At the Rumble, I'm gonna be the one shutting your mouth. I was trying to respect you. I wanted to respect you. I tried to, and you wouldn't let me. So now I'm shutting your mouth, and I have to at least respect myself if you're not going to respect me. Perfect. I loved every second of it. And brief. I don't think the thing was even a minute. Made the point. And I'm interested. So thank you, John. 2 occasions. Thank you, Drew. Drew McIntyre did not show up to the Thunderdome, and he did 2 of the best things on the show. Randy Orton is talking to a blonde lady. Her name's Sarah Schreiber. I'm being a dick. I'm not trying to insult the announcer. It's part of my Vince Loves Blondes thing that I'm just like, there's another giant package about Randy Orton and Triple H, and I think this is where they finally made it official halfway through the show that they're going to set up a match that they already set up. So we see a package of what happened theoretically an hour and a half ago if you were watching it live. Matt Riddle challenges Bobby Lashley for the U.S. title. This came out of nowhere. But I liked what they did, the brief thing they did last week. I like this too. Again, these guys are hard hitters, both MMA backgrounds. Not that it really matters. It used to be both football backgrounds. Not that it really matters, but they're physical. Riddle's got the busted lip. A little blood on his mouth there. Bobby Lashley wins the thing. He beats him. Okay, taps on match gets 35 stars. And okay, I mean that's where this was going. It's at the end of the world. My favorites can't win all the time. This is the most I've ever liked Bobby Lashley. This is my The U.S. title Hurt Business run of Bobby Lashley is my favorite Bobby Lashley. I believe him. I believe he's a badass. I believe he's a bit of a bully, but he's a no-nonsense bully that I can clearly, look at him. You can believe he can beat up anyone, right? Why wouldn't you believe that? He gets the alone in a bar test. Let's say if the guy's in a bar by himself, do you consider messing with him? No? Okay, then. Then Riddle, on a microphone for no reason, challenges MVP to wrestle in MVP street clothes, and MVP does. And after a few minutes, Bobby Lashley, he tries to interfere and he gets kicked from Riddle from the ring apron, which is the hardest part of the ring. And then MVP gets DQ'd when Bobby Lashley runs in for the spear and they beat him up again. The match gets 16,042 stars. And now we got to see Goldberg's package. We got to stare at Goldberg's package slapping us in the face. When your best career highlights don't come in HD footage at this point in the game, give it a break. It was a little sad to hear Bobby Heenan's voice in that, but Jesus, we don't care. And also, do you need that long of a package? I didn't even mean that. I didn't even mean to do that one. Does your package need to be that long and thick to explain to your audience who the hell this guy is? Because the thing is, if you're 6 years old, you don't know who Goldberg is. If you're 8 years old, you don't know who Goldberg is. If you're 8 years old and watching this show, you really don't even know who John Cena is, barely, right? Because go back 3 years when 3 years prior when your memory kicks in, Cena was barely on the show, challenged The Undertaker once. Yeah, if you're 8, you don't even know. You barely remember Roman Reigns being a good guy at this point. Like, it's kind of, the whole thing is kind of silly. Your earliest memories of pro wrestling are Roman Reigns coming back from leukemia. And you're like, oh, I guess something must have happened in the past. Anyway, Triple H and Keith Lee are backstage. Keith Lee hands Triple H his jacket. Then Randy Orton is walking down a hallway. And now here's our fight. They're allowed to say fight. I like that they're selling punches. Triple H wasn't bumping in this, and it was a brief, let me just fire up on him and get to where we got to go. So, and Orton, just like Lawler in the day and everybody else would sell these punches and make every one of them mean something. I love matches where the youngest guy's my age. There's no referee. It's not a match. They're just allowed to fight, which I didn't even notice until Triple H had some blood on his head, and Samoa Joe, the baddest of badasses, said Triple H had some of Orton's fluid on his head, which you can't say blood. If it was The Rock and Stone Cold having one last match, they'd say blood. Even if they weren't bleeding, they'd say blood. There's bad fluid between these two. Fluid on his head sounds so much worse. Orton was just happy to see him. And Triple H takes his hammer out, and he's got the fluid on his head, and he takes out his hammer before he can swing his hammer with the fluids at Randy Orton. The lights go out, half the lights go out at a time, and now the hammer's on fire, which clearly happens off camera there. Alexa Bliss is standing there, and she throws a fireball. Hey, speaking of Lawler in Memphis, she throws a fireball at Randy Orton, who is selling, and okay, Orton's selling his fire, and that's cool. Why? Okay, it was a fight, and there's not supposed to be referees out there. No referees came out for this. No officials came out with a water bottle. They just let them sell. Like a minute's a long time to sell that. Right? Why were no officials out for the Triple H Randy Orton fight at all? No one came out. Nobody cared. No one cares anymore. They just don't care. They don't care. I care. I care. I care. Once again, my work schedule, it kind of makes it a little hard for me to get NXT out on a Thursday. For the unforeseen future, it's going to look like more of a Friday morning my time. So chances are Friday afternoon or Friday evening your time. Hopefully, if you're listening to these, it's not because you need me to tell you what happened. You already know what happened. You're just waiting for me to be an ass about it. Some non-related stuff. The trailer for the G.I. Joe adventure I've been making for 7 months with my action figures. I'm a big nerd. My trailer for my G.I. Joe movie Frogs in Winter is also on my YouTube channel. I put it up this morning. I'm hoping to get that. I'm hoping to have it by I think Saturday afternoon. The thing's edited and formatted it. I'm just gotta run a little test here and there with the YouTube, and hopefully I could just YouTube it. If not, I have to think of something else. Do a Vimeo too, because I don't know the answer to that. So I'm hoping for Saturday, because if you're in the States, it should be a 3-day weekend with Martin Luther King Day on a Monday, and that gives you a little bit of extra time to watch some more stuff you wouldn't normally watch, and I think that would be good. So I'm excited about that. Very excited. So check that out on my channel if you're into the G.I. Joe stuff. And that is all she wrote. Stick a fork in him, he's done. The calorically challenged overweight woman who we will not shame has sung. Tip the veal. Try the waitress. And thank you. Thank you all for listening to the hardest part of the ring.